You know, the pushback, if you will, against Bill 96 has been pretty strong, certainly of late. And I wonder if any of that has to do with the fact that the latest poll numbers show Francois Legault beginning to lose support. When's the last time we could say that, at least in terms of popularity? Now, another industry besides the Chartered Accountants of Quebec, the Collège des Médecins, the Barreaux de Quebec, pushing back against the government, warning perhaps that this law, at least the part where you have to learn French inside of 6 months here if you arrive as an immigrant, needs to be looked at a little bit more, scaled back, because the warning is, at least in the tech sector, it's going to hurt. Mitch Joel is on the line. He's a tech advisor, investor, author of CTRL ALT Delete. Mitch, how you doing?
I'm good. Good afternoon to both of you.
Yeah, nice to have you here. So listen, 37 CEOs saying the law needs to be paused right now. Why the tech sector? How would it affected more adversely than others?
I don't know if it's more adversely versus just the reality of when you're bringing somebody to a new city, maybe even a new country, they're adjusting to a new job, if they have family, school, lifestyles, and then there's this forced timeline to learn a new language in 6 months. It's kind of a daunting task when you're looking at the added complexity of what happens when you move to an area where the language is different from where you are. These are highly skilled people with very, very great skills. In fact, most of them are already bilingual because they're speaking whatever language they're coming here with and code. And these are powerful, important people that we would want to have as a part of our economy. And for some reason, we are putting hurdle in front of them. So hard to convince someone to jump over that high of a complex hurdle.
So I'm wondering, I mean, it's not as if the government wouldn't know this. They made a point of stressing that, they want Montreal to be considered a tech center in this country, which it has evolved a little bit into. Was this just an oversight? Why would they not at least give them a break?
It's hard to understand anything that's going on right now. And in speaking to my entrepreneurial friends, particularly those in technology, many of them are talking about simply moving to Ontario, 45 minutes from here, and then hire everybody here to work remotely. This would abdicate all of those issues and all of those responsibilities. Or if you're local and you need to hire those people and offer them remote work because they're technology-based jobs. Then you're not bringing people into this economy. It fails at every level to do what the Quebec government is trying to do, which is ultimately build culture. How do you build culture? We need to have more kids. We need to have people here who want to work and have a lifestyle here and find partners. That's what's going to improve and make the culture grow and be a part of that. And now in a world of Google Translate and remote work, this isn't going to add any economic development here. In fact, probably push out innovation and transformation opportunities.
Here's one part I don't understand. And you talk about remote work. So we know that they're going to extend Bill 96 to companies of 25 to 49 people, beyond just 50 and greater. If you are a company that employs, a couple of hundred people in tech, yet most of your staff work remotely, how would that affect your company?
It probably won't, and I believe this to be one of the core workarounds. I heard somebody on CJD a couple of weeks ago say there's an app for that, Google Translate and this technology, this remote work. So clearly that's going to be the sidestep. Fortunately, these technology companies may be able to build a business and a culture like that, but the vast majority of other businesses can't. They need the physical hands and people here. So does it solve for this? It doesn't solve for it. And I think ultimately what people hear when they hear 6 months to force learn the language, it doesn't sound like an encouragement because you're coming here in a great part of the culture and a great way to acclimate to be a part of this. It sounds like a punishment. And that's what you're hearing in this letter, and that's what you're hearing from many other industries to date.
And yet, Mitch, when you mentioned that companies, it's just easier for them to pick up and move to Ontario. Obviously, these 37 companies who've signed this letter don't want that to be the outcome. And Elias Makos was pointing out to us that they have not spoken up prior to this because they were afraid of how the government would react, right? Fear of retribution. So is the situation here such that the risks with Bill 96 are actually worse than kind of the risks of being in the government's bad books?
Yeah, absolutely. This is an industry that's talking about 10,000 jobs that need to be filled in IT and communication. It's coming in a world where these organizations are typically very, very proactive and actually would embrace this. I know that in our organization, when I had that business, we had several opportunities for people to learn French and have table rondes and things like that. Now there's even a shortage of these teachers and instructors, and this all falls on research that was released. I'd heard in the media, I don't know the depth of it, but that it was basically done, the research that said you can't really learn this language even in 6 months, and that was kind of swept under the rug. So you have very sophisticated entrepreneurs who want to continue to grow here in the province, and they're being forced to hire from outside. It's essentially what this will ultimately be, which doesn't help the province, it doesn't help our economic development, and it certainly doesn't further French culture.
Legault doesn't have a great history. The CAQ doesn't have a great history of listening to these kinds of concerns. Do you have any hope that in this case they might take it more seriously?
It was 2 years, and we were hopeful that they heard that we need more beds in hospitals and work on our CHLSD and on and on.
Yeah.
And we've been abdicating this to a culture war suddenly. When we have a health crisis, we have a people crisis, we have a crisis that is much greater than the language issue that's at foot. I'm not diminishing it. It is an important part of who we are, but it is not. They had 2+ years to solve 2 or 3 major things that didn't get resolved. And this feels like the greatest head fake I've ever seen in the country.
In other words, look, they're not here.
Feels like it, doesn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Sure
I mean,
does.
you look at this every day, and how many people are going to have to stand up and say this is going to hurt our business and ultimately hurt the province? How many people, Mitch, in the tech sector in this province, or at least from what you understand, ballpark?
Oh, I would have no way of guessing it because it's so vast. I mean, the question back would be, Aaron, how many businesses do we know that don't have a technological infrastructure? Yeah. The answer is we have all digitized. We had this amazing compression that happened during this COVID-19 pandemic where every business realized just the importance of being digital first and engaging with more and more people because more and more people became digitally savvy, from our youngest kids who are online learning to our eldest of elderly who have to figure out how to FaceTime us and do online banking. This is an amazing opportunity for this province to lead in innovation and technology. And all they're simply doing is enabling leaders to figure out ways to use that technology to not have the money or culture be here.
You know, I wonder as well, because when we keep talking about the tech sector, at least in the city, we know there's some big companies that have opened up here as well. Do you know where most of the people who end up here coming from? Is there a specific country, part of the world, or is it just literally from everywhere?
I think it is from everywhere, and I think the opportunity is abound, and I think we would be remiss if we didn't just talk in generalities that immigration is another way you're going to grow your culture. And if you add these hurdles in, going to be more difficult to do that. So I believe there are countless people from countless countries who would love to experience the most European city in North America, spend a couple years here, maybe more, build a life, introduce their kids to other cultures and languages. Why would we want to close our doors to that opportunity?
Mm-hmm.
I will point out, and I got a text yesterday, and I'm not sure that this is the case, but it's worth bringing up in this conversation. Someone suggesting you're coming here as an immigrant from a foreign country. It would take you somewhere around 4 or 5 months just to be able to get through the system to figure out that, yes, you can now take French courses. Where do you have to go? So never mind 6 months to learn the language, just the organization, the administration you have to go through would take you months.
But I think when a big company hires you, a lot of that is taken care of, is it not?
Well, they try to, but again, in a world where there's 10,000 jobs that we know of that are looking to be filled, new businesses and entrepreneurs started every day, and you have a shortage of these teachers and instructors and resources to even do this, you're struggling. As an entrepreneur, you know, what percentage of businesses fail out of the gates? Almost 100% of them. And all of this is just not going to resolve in the way in which I believe the government would like it to. And ultimately, we're seeing a massive shift in all jobs being offered as a remote or work from home arena as well. They're competing against that on top of it. Yeah. And they have to wake up to that as well. This is a very different time.
Mitch, we're out of time. I did want to ask you one question really quick because I came across this article in the Journal where our own Caisse de Dépôt apparently had invested in one of these crypto banks called Celsius Network, which yesterday stopped withdrawals. That's always a good sign because cryptocurrencies have gotten killed over the past little while. Have you heard about this story?
I've heard about the story. I'm following it very closely. As somebody who both invests and advises, this is a very scary time. I'm even more concerned because if you look at how durable a currency like Bitcoin is and how they're trapped in with all of these other failing cryptos, that to me is the indicator and the signal of where you should be looking. Always look to Bitcoin. It's a very, very durable currency that's getting completely damaged in this crypto winter.
Yeah, we'll talk about that maybe next time. Mitch, thanks so much for the time.
Always good to hear from both of you. Thank you.
Mitch Joel, tech advisor, entrepreneur.